I feel like as humans, we tend to be really stubborn, whether it's failing to see when we need help or failure to see when we're wrong. I am really guilty of this because honestly, I have done that most of my entire life, and it really led me down a path where nothing good came of it, and that's really what this video comes down to. We all go through tough times in our life, and we're not always going to be happy, we're not always going to be cheerful. There are going to be some days where we look at ourselves and we're not happy with what we see. There are going to be some times where we're going to look at our whole life situations and be like, is this what I deserve? Is this what's the best for me? Now, yesterday I went to go see my therapist, and probably for the last time in the foreseeable future, because honestly, like, the amount of progress I have made is tremendous, and like I said, I've been like on an upward trajectory ever since I started therapy. Yes, I have been going to therapy for the past 3 months to treat my OCD, because before that I was not doing good whatsoever. My mindset was really bad. I could not stop thinking about it, and I didn't really know how to go about it. To give you guys a brief backstory on myself, I got OCD when I was about 12 years old. I got intrusive thoughts regarding my sexuality, regarding harm, regarding existential, and other little weird things that, you know, would come here and there. And I went years without getting it treated. I always felt like in myself where I thought it would just go away on its own, which is what a lot of people think. And that usually happens when someone is going through something they have no idea what it is. So, you know, for me, when I was 12, I basically told my parents about it when I was 18. So that was just 6 years of my life where I basically told no one about what was going on with me. I didn't tell anyone about my intrusive thoughts because, like I said, I didn't want to get judged. You know, when I did tell my parents, I went to go see a counselor at my school, and I saw her for about 2 to 3 months. And it didn't really help for me because honestly, she was a nice lady, but she never really told me anything that was of use to me. She never really told me how to combat the thoughts. She never really told me how to change my mindset, how they were just thoughts in the first place. And one of the things that I took away from that was, you know what, maybe therapy is useless. Maybe talking to someone is not the best thing I could do. So a little after that, so basically after those therapy sessions at my school, I went another 5 years without really going to see anyone about it. I had told some people like my parents, and that was about it. I didn't really tell anyone else. Like I said, I kept it hidden, and I didn't really want to talk about it with anyone. And until I went to go see this therapist this last December, because I realized at that moment I was not going to get better. I needed someone to talk to, and I was going to do something about my situation and not feel sorry for myself and not have this gray cloud over my shoulders every single time I woke up, when I went to bed, when I did things with friends and family. I was not going to let that dictate my whole entire life. So I went, and honestly, it is one of the best experiences I have ever had. Now, like I said, yesterday I went to go see my therapist, and we talked for about an hour, and we basically went over the things that happened in my life the last month, because we started off going weekly, and then later when I got better, it was every 2 weeks, and then when I got even better, we went every 1 month. And after this 1 month, I felt in a way liberated. I told her our last session, when I went into my car and I started driving, I started crying because I felt like in a way, a sense of freedom, a sense of liberation from these thoughts, because my whole entire life, it always felt like the thoughts were consuming me, and I never had power over what I was able to think. It was always what the thoughts wanted me to think. It was never about what I wanted to think. And it just felt like I was going to live my life this way. And I knew I couldn't do that, because later down the road, if I didn't seek treatment, I was going to go down a dark path where it might lead me to depression, or it could honestly possibly lead me to suicide, because there was a point where I just didn't want to deal with this anymore. You know, my therapist was a really sweet person. She had the right idea of what to do with my thoughts. She gave me tips and tricks and how to change my mindset in regarding all these thoughts. And then, like I said, I also read this book called Unwanted and Intrusive Thoughts, and I talked about it in another video I did like a while ago. I'll link that in the description below if you guys want to read that, because it is a good book. And the combination of the book, a combination of my therapist, and a combination of my work ethic to get better and not want to live life in a world where I didn't get to dictate my own terms, or I didn't get to dictate what I felt and what I wanted to hear. And honestly, it was very life-changing, because I even told my therapist, I wrote her a letter and told her how thankful I was for everything she gave me. I even said, look, if it wasn't for you, who knows how I would have done this? Who knows if I would have gotten better? Like, yes, I had the book, but, you know, she was also there to hear me out and and give me some advice on what to do with these thoughts. And that's where I think therapy comes in really useful, because when we as people go through our problems, we tend to not really talk about it with anyone. And if we do, sometimes we might feel like the person's advice wasn't the best advice, and we don't really tend to go along with it. But with a therapist, yes, you're paying for it, but it is advice that has some sort of credibility behind it. These people have been working with other patients for years, and they probably know what could be beneficial to a person like yourself if you're going through anything with either a mental illness, whether it's just a really bad time in your life, or anything else. You know, you don't have to have a mental illness for therapy. You could honestly be just going through a rough patch in your life, whether it's a breakup, whether it's a lost family member, whether you just lost your job. Honestly, it's good to just go and talk to someone about it, because when you just keep these thoughts hidden, when you don't talk about it with anyone, they kind of just boil in, and you don't really get to express your inner feelings. You don't get to cry. Well, maybe you do get to cry, but you're not really, in a way, you're not expressing your emotions to the full capacity of what you could. And with a therapist, you, in a way, you can, while also getting advice on how to help yourself. You know, for the longest time, I thought myself, if I go to therapy and I confront my problems, it's gonna make it worse. I'm gonna have my thoughts stuck in my head more than I did, because if I talk about them with someone, I'm just gonna keep thinking about it, and it's never gonna go away. But it was actually the opposite of that, because once I started talking to my therapist about it, she gave me advice on what to do about those thoughts. It wasn't just like we talked and she said, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. No, it's a full-fledged conversation where you're getting advice on how to stop these thoughts, or at least how to manage these thoughts. And then you also get another perspective from someone else. You don't just get your own perspective from your head, where you're talking to yourself and you're putting yourself down, or you're just giving yourself false hope on whatever it is you're going through. You get actual concrete, realistic advice from someone that honestly could help you in the long run. I can honestly say right now that after I went to therapy, I've really become a different person in a way, in terms of my mindset. My mindset isn't the same. I look at things a lot differently. I can take a thought and just look at it as a thought, really. Like, I don't really give it any emotional weight. I try to live my life in a way where it's not confined into my own thinking. People sometimes look at the stigma of therapy as like, oh, if you go, there's something wrong with you. And yeah, there probably is something wrong with you. You're probably going through a rough patch in your life, but that's normal. We don't always have to have a happy life. We don't always have to think that we have to be happy and cheery and never have any problems. That's not really the case with anyone. We're always gonna have tough times. We're always gonna go through breakups, deaths, lost jobs, things that really make us sad, and things that really might push us over the edge where we feel like we need help, and the help is available for you. So to conclude everything, if you feel like you're going through a rough patch in your life and you need to talk to someone, try to go see a therapist. Don't let the stigma of therapy make you think that you're weak, or that going to seek help makes you crazy, or you're beneath it by not handling it yourself, because a lot of people can't handle it themselves, and usually when they try to, it's not the best option for them, and it might just lead to worse results.